The final boss of the Gnomeregan Raid is, of course, Mekgineer Thermaplugg. This is a 5-phase boss fight that has repeating mechanics throughout all the different phases, with only a couple tweaks that you have to worry about. For ranged DPS, the main mechanic you have to worry about is these pillars around the outside of the room. Occasionally, they're going to open up and drop out bombs, and the bombs are going to have a different effect on each of the different phases, but it's the same strategy. Hit them with quick, fast spells that instantly kill them, and then go up beside the pillar and hit the button. The button will deal a brief amount of damage to you and stun you, but it'll stop the bombs from coming out. Upon hitting the button, you get a debuff that lasts 30 seconds, stopping you from hitting the button again. So you do need a rotation of ranged DPS assigned to button hitting and be able to coordinate who has to hit the button when. This entire boss hinges on the mitigation of how many bombs come out, so ranged DPS definitely have to be on top of this more than anything else in the fight. As a note, hitting those buttons gives you a chunk of mana. Healers can go over and hit one of these if they're struggling with mana throughout the fight to keep themselves topped up. There are 4 phases where the boss is in a mech, and the mechs have very similar mechanics. The one in common to worry about is the cleave effect. He does a cleave in front of him that applies a debuff to all targets hit. Everybody except the current tank needs to be behind him, making sure they're not getting cleaved. In phase 1, the fire phase, he's going to occasionally do a cone effect in front of him that channels, and he can move while casting it. This stacks that debuff onto the tank, so the tank needs to notice that he's about to cast this and run away, kiting him around the outside of the room. In every phase, he has a different debuff that his auto attacks apply, as well as his special abilities. In phase 1, that's stacking fire damage. At about 3 to 4 stacks of the debuff, the tank should swap to make sure there's not too much healing going out from that unnecessary damage. At 50% health, he'll switch to the frost phase. The mechanic change here is he loses the flame cone effect for instead an AoE pulse on the entire group that stacks the tank debuff on everybody. This phase's tank debuff is a freezing mechanic that slows you down. At 10 stacks, it'll freeze you solid, stunning you for 30 seconds. This phase is a DPS race. You need to make sure that the raid doesn't get to 10 stacks or everybody gets stunned. The effect is dispellable, but really it's not a huge priority. You're probably going to make it out before anybody gets that high. At 50%, again, he's going to swap over, this time to the poison phase. The new change in this phase is that he begins pulsing out a stacking debuff on everyone that increases nature damage taken. He'll also occasionally start venting out green gas. There's no cast bar or channel bar, but this does need to be interrupted quickly. Once you've dealt with this phase, he's going to go into his ultimate mech. And in this final mech, he has the effects of all of the previous mechs. So he's going to have the big flame cone, he's going to pulse the AoE stacking frosty buff, he's going to vent out the green gas, and you just have to deal with all of those different effects all at once while still dealing with all of the bombs. Overall, this is very much just a flow fight and just a lot of stats required to be able to handle it. Once your group has the high enough damage to be able to phase him at the correct times, as well as the amount of healing necessary to deal with all of the damage going out, this one ends up getting to be pretty easy. Once you defeat his ultimate form, he's going to drop out of his mech as a little gnome with no special abilities, and you just have to take him out. The one risk is that you can still wipe at this point due to the bombs, so make sure you're still managing the bombs as you take out the final little gnome. I hope this guide helped you figure out how to take down Mekgineer Thermaplugg. I'm Zesty Fresh with Lots of Games, and we'll catch you guys next time.